these are the 4 different entry-level mouthpieces that I stock in my shop. I'm really curious to hear what Christine thinks of them and if she has a favorite. From my point of view, as long as your beginning student is using one of these 4, you're setting him or her up on the best path to success. Any of these are going to be a huge upgrade over your typical stock mouthpiece. The Yamaha 4C is a high-quality plastic student-level mouthpiece. Sorry I don't have a brand new one. I have to use a used one, actually, because I'm out of the new ones. I have more on the way. They're in transit as I speak right now. But it's made by the world's largest manufacturer of musical instruments, and they have some of the best quality control around at Yamaha, too. And that extends, beyond their instruments. It goes to their accessories as well. So it's going to be a well-made student-level mouthpiece. If your student is starting out on a Yamaha instrument, could be a nice benefit right there that it's going to come with a quality student level mouthpiece. If not, it's an inexpensive upgrade to buy one, and it will be a step up when compared to what comes with most student level clarinets. Backun Alpha mouthpiece is fairly new when compared to the other mouthpieces I'm looking at. It wouldn't quite be accurate to call it a plastic mouthpiece. It's a proprietary material that Backun came up with, and they put a lot of thought into it. Just like when they were coming up with the material that the Alpha clarinet is made out of, wouldn't be quite accurate to call that a plastic clarinet. So just like everything else they do at Backun, it's well thought out, and just like Yamaha, it's going to have impeccable quality control. So it's going to be a nice mouthpiece that your student is getting. Easy upgrade for if the student wants to buy one of these, or if the student is starting out on an Alpha or even on the Beta clarinet, Backun's entry wooden clarinet, they are going to come with this mouthpiece. The Behn Overture mouthpiece is probably the one I'm least familiar with, but I stock it because Dr. Julianne Kirk-Doyle at Crane recommends her students get this for clarinet techniques class, and I've gotten some really great feedback from the students who take that class saying how much easier it is to get their first sounds and get their first good sounds on clarinet when switching from the stock mouthpiece to the Behn Overture. I know Brad as somebody who, if you want to spend $700 or $800 on a mouthpiece that's going to last you many, many years for top flight professional work, then he's the guy to see. But I wasn't familiar at all with his Overture mouthpiece for only $35. But just given the feedback and how highly Julianne recommends it, it's been a really nice addition to my shop. For a long time, the Phobes Debut mouthpiece has been my number one go-to, my ride or die student level mouthpiece. It's what I would stock all the rentals with when I worked in California. That certainly didn't hurt that his house where he makes all these mouthpieces was only about 20 miles from the shop. Definitely hasn't hurt that he invited me to his house to see his whole operation. He was so nice, and he still remembers me every time I run into him at a conference somehow. It's just a really nice mouthpiece. I believe it's the only one of the bunch here that is actually hand-faced. Yes, a $29 hand-faced mouthpiece. You will never encounter a cork that is too small for a barrel. For some reason, the corks are always huge on this. I've never had to sand one down, though. You might need a ton of cork grease to get it on the first time. But so just a heads up on that. But it's a really nice mouthpiece, and educators just absolutely love this thing. It's made of acrylic, and it's hand-faced acrylic, so that makes it a little bit unique. He went a very long time, like a decade, without ever raising his prices. Then it was maybe a year and a half ago or so. He said he was going to raise them at the new year. So I ordered like 3 dozen of these things before the price increase. I remember putting the order in on New Year's Eve to get the good pricing. So I've got a ton of these in the shop, which is no problem because I know people are always going to want these. So I've got 5 student level mouthpieces here. We've got the 4 that we're going to be reviewing, and then just for some demos and hopefully an example of a not such a good student level mouthpiece, I've got this old Con Precision that I just found in a junk drawer. So There's lots of things on the mouthpieces we could measure. We could measure stuff all day long. I don't really care about what the numbers say, honestly. I care that it's consistent. I care that it's made by a good manufacturer, from made out of good material, with good quality control, and then I care that the facing's even, right? You don't want one side higher than the other when it comes to the tip or the side rails. These guys right here. As long as it's got all those things going for it, it's high quality material, and made evenly and consistently, it's going to be a pretty decent mouthpiece for you. So I could measure the tip opening, but I don't really care too much about that. Let's do it on the old con just to see what kind of numbers we're looking at. So I'd say that's about a 110 tip opening right there. Oh, I moved it a little bit. Sorry. 110, 109, something in that range. So that is the distance between the tip of the reed and the tip of the mouthpiece. That's all well and good. I don't really care. I don't even care if the measurement that I get isn't exactly what the manufacturer's specifications are. It's going to be close enough for the student level mouthpiece. One of the main things I do care about, though, is making sure the facing is nice and even. And I don't know how this one's going to be, but we're going to find out. So that's just a glass mouthpiece gauge that I've got over the top there. That's just a piece of shim material. So when I slide this between the glass gauge and the mouthpiece, ideally it should be perfectly straight across. That one's actually not too bad for an old student level mouthpiece. It's not perfect though. So I'd say that's about 2 measurements off. So on one side, it's bottoming out at the 30, on the other side at the 28. So not perfect, but still that's okay. I would like it to be a little bit closer. Within 1 would be nice. But sometimes you'll see them like something really egregious like that, or something you can see how that's way slanted. So that's we want to avoid that. So I purposely have the mouthpieces face down here so you can't see which brand is which, and let's see how they stack up. We'll just call this mouthpiece number 1. That is virtually nails straight across. Maybe an eighth of a measure mark distance off between the two sides, but at about 32 all the way across there. And I don't really care about that 32. I just care that it's 32 on both sides, nice and even. Almost exactly the same on this one. It's right about 32, and I'd say maybe it's an eighth of a measurement difference. Oh, might have flashed the logo there. Oh well. Maybe all these companies just secretly have the other mouthpieces made at the same place, because this one is also nearly dead perfect and right on 32. This one's probably the farthest off, and I'd say maybe it's a half a measurement well within the acceptable range. That one's going from about 34 to 33 and a half or so. Completely fine. So you can see, even though the junk mouthpiece was better than I thought it was going to be, you can see how much better these really inexpensive, good quality student level mouthpieces are. And hey, clarinet's difficult enough to play, so why make the beginner struggle with something that's just not as perfect as it should be? So that's a great example of why it pays to pay the extra $30, $40, $50 and just get a good quality, very affordable student level mouthpiece.
As I was playtesting the Backun Alpha, I swapped out my standard reeds for a slightly lighter strength, one that a school-age student might be using. I chose a size 3 blue box Van Doren. So I played through several scales, chromatic scales, articulating, both using my normal embouchure and tongue placement, and then forcibly dropping my tongue as far as it could go to the bottom of my mouth, which is a standard mistake that many beginning clarinetists make. But I wanted to check what the mouthpiece response would be like for someone who doesn't have proper embouchure, who isn't using their air properly. I found that this produced a really easy sound. It was very even. It played well in tune. It's an excellent student mouthpiece. So the Yamaha was very free-blowing. I think this is an excellent choice for beginners. It didn't feel quite as stable as the Backun, but I got a response right away. The response was really excellent. It didn't have quite as much focus of the sound, but the intonation was still pretty good. I think that this is an excellent choice for someone who is just starting off, especially very young kids who might be a little bit small for the instrument. I think this is a great way to get them that quick response that they're looking for in order to keep them engaged. This is an excellent mouthpiece. Really free-blowing. Reminds me a little bit of the Backun Alpha. It responds really well. The intonation is good. And like the Alpha, something I noticed is that I can put a ton of air through it. I can really kind of go for it without the sound becoming really wide and spread. It also handled well with dropping my tongue in my mouth and letting go of my embouchure. Yeah, excellent. The Phobes Debut is a mouthpiece that I've been familiar with for a while, and it kind of slipped my mind. This one, again, like the others, really responsive. It has good intonation. I don't know if it held the quantity, if it could withstand the quantity of air that I was pushing through sometimes, although I was really trying to go for it and trying to get the sound to spread. But this is an excellent student alternative as opposed to some generic mouthpieces or stock mouthpieces that usually come with the instruments. absolutely excellent. For anyone who is starting their clarinet journey or high schoolers who are becoming a bit more serious, these mouthpieces really set you up for success. When we start playing, the most important thing is that we have equipment that is serving the instrument and serving the player and allowing them to do what they're setting out to do with ease. With these mouthpieces, you have a wide range in prices, all under $50, that provide you with really excellent and really consistent sound production, the tone, the freedom of response. All of these are excellent, and depending on your price point, you can definitely find something to suit your needs, your students' needs, or your child's needs. My personal favorites from these were the Backun Alpha and the Behn Overture. The Backun Alpha reminded me a lot of a professional mouthpiece. It had great response, resistance, and focus. And the Behn Overture was easy to play. It had really great stability. And both mouthpieces really could handle a lot of air and proper playing technique, which I really appreciated. Thank you for joining us again. I hope this was helpful. Thank you to Miles from North Country Winds for furnishing me with the mouthpieces to try and collaborating with me on this video. As always, go check out his website for all of your clarinet needs, northcountrywinds.com. Stay tuned for more information about affordable upgrades and clarinet equipment. Stay safe, everyone.